If being emotionally unavailable really made women want you more, then the most distant men would have the strongest relationships. But they don't. They have short connections, mixed signals, and women who eventually walk away. Yet men are still told the same advice: pull back, care less, be hard to get. Here's the truth no one tells you. Women don't bond with emotional distance. They bond with emotional safety. What looks like desire is often just anxiety, and anxiety never builds real attachment. In this video, I'll break down why the unavailable man myth fails, what women actually respond to, and how real attraction is built without games, manipulation, or fake masculinity. If you want connection that lasts, not attention that fades, keep watching. The allure of the unavailable man myth. The idea of the unavailable man didn't appear by accident. It was shaped slowly through movies, dating culture, and years of misinterpreted advice that confused emotional distance with strength. We've all seen the narrative: the man who replies late, the man who keeps things vague, the man who never fully commits but somehow keeps women emotionally invested. From the outside it looks convincing. Women chase, interest intensifies, attention increases, so the conclusion seems obvious. Being unavailable makes you desirable, but this is where the illusion begins. What's actually happening isn't deep attraction, it's emotional uncertainty. The human brain doesn't like unanswered questions. When something feels inconsistent, the mind tries to resolve it. That mental effort creates focus. Focus creates emotional activation, and emotional activation is often mistaken for desire. But this isn't bonding, it's anxiety. And anxiety is not attraction, it's instability. The unavailable man benefits from this confusion because it gives him perceived power. He controls access, he controls timing, he controls emotional availability. But control doesn't equal confidence. In many cases, emotional unavailability is not a sign of strength, it's a defense mechanism. A way to avoid vulnerability, a way to avoid rejection, a way to avoid emotional risk. Instead of saying, "I'm interested," the unavailable man says nothing. Instead of showing presence, he disappears. And instead of emotional courage, he practices emotional avoidance. Dating culture often celebrates this as masculinity. But true masculinity isn't the absence of emotion, it's mastery over it. Another reason this myth survives is because it sometimes works briefly. In early stages, emotional distance can spark curiosity. The unknown feels exciting. The unpredictable feels stimulating. But stimulation is temporary. It doesn't build trust, it doesn't create safety, and it doesn't sustain attachment. Over time, emotional distance stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling hollow. What once felt intriguing begins to feel unreliable. What once felt exciting begins to feel draining. This is where many men get confused. They assume the loss of attraction happened because they gave too much. But what actually happened is that the woman stopped chasing emotional clarity and chose emotional stability instead. The unavailable man doesn't lose attraction because he becomes available. He loses attraction because he never becomes emotionally real. The myth persists because it promises an easy shortcut. Just pull away, just care less, just be hard to get. But shortcuts don't lead to depth. They lead to surface-level dynamics that collapse under emotional pressure. And once you understand this, the entire myth begins to unravel. Because what women respond to long-term isn't emotional absence, it's emotional grounding. Beyond the games, redefining attraction. Here's the uncomfortable truth about dating games. They only work if you believe attraction is something you can control. Say the right thing, wait the right amount of time, pull back at the right moment. But attraction doesn't grow through calculation, it grows through alignment. Games force men to perform instead of show up. They turn connection into strategy, presence into absence, interest into manipulation, and the moment attraction becomes a performance, authenticity disappears. There's a critical difference most men miss. Being mysterious is not the same as being emotionally unavailable. Mystery comes from depth that hasn't been revealed yet. Unavailability comes from withholding. A man with substance doesn't need to manufacture distance. His life already has weight, he has direction, he has purpose, he has emotional stability. That creates intrigue naturally. But when a man relies on silence to feel powerful, the silence eventually speaks for him. It says, "I'm afraid of closeness, I don't know how to stay present. I confuse control with confidence. True attraction doesn't require confusion. It requires clarity. Clarity doesn't kill desire, it strengthens it. When a woman knows where she stands, she can relax. When she relaxes, she opens emotionally. When she opens emotionally, attachment becomes possible. Games interrupt this process. They keep emotions activated but unresolved. They create tension without direction. An unresolved tension eventually turns into detachment. This is why attraction built on games rarely lasts. It has no emotional foundation. Another misconception is that scarcity is the most powerful driver of desire. Scarcity works on objects, not on emotional bonds. Human connection deepens through repetition, reliability, and emotional presence. A man who shows up consistently becomes familiar, not boring. Familiarity creates trust. Trust creates comfort. Comfort allows intimacy to grow. This doesn't mean being available all the time. It means being intentional when you are. A grounded man doesn't chase, but he doesn't disappear either. He responds instead of reacting. He engages instead of performing. He chooses presence over power games. Women aren't attracted to men who give less. They're attracted to men who give meaningfully. When attraction is redefined this way, something shifts. You stop asking, "How do I make her want me?" and start asking, "Am I someone who creates emotional safety and depth?" That question changes everything, because real attraction isn't about being hard to get. It's about being solid enough to stay. The pillars of lasting attraction. If emotional unavailability isn't what creates real attraction, then what does? What actually makes a woman move from curiosity to interest to emotional attachment? The answer isn't flashy, it's not manipulative, and it doesn't sell well on social media, but it works. Lasting attraction is built on a few core pillars, qualities that consistently show up in healthy, deeply connected relationships. And the first one is emotional intelligence, not emotional intensity, not emotional distance. Emotional intelligence. This means a man understands his own emotions instead of suppressing them. He can feel without being overwhelmed. He can express without exploding. He can listen without getting defensive. Women don't want a man who never feels. They want a man who isn't ruled by his feelings. That kind of emotional steadiness creates safety, and safety isn't boring, it's grounding. The second pillar is clear, honest communication. This doesn't mean constant talking. It means consistency and clarity. A man who communicates clearly doesn't create unnecessary confusion. He doesn't leave intentions vague to seem powerful. He doesn't disappear to test interest. He says what he means. He means what he says. That level of clarity is rare and incredibly attractive, because when communication is clear, emotional energy isn't wasted on guessing games. The third pillar is vulnerability without neediness. This is where many men misunderstand attraction. They think vulnerability means oversharing, dumping insecurities, looking for reassurance. That's not vulnerability. Healthy vulnerability is controlled openness. It's the ability to share thoughts, fears, and emotions without asking someone else to regulate them for you. A man who can say "this matters to me" without demanding validation feels emotionally strong. Women aren't attracted to emotional walls. They're attracted to emotional presence with boundaries. The fourth pillar is shared values. Chemistry can spark attraction, but values determine whether attraction survives. When values align about relationships, communication, growth, and life direction, connection deepens naturally. Without shared values, even intense chemistry fades. This is why women may feel drawn to someone at first, but slowly detach once they realize the emotional mismatch. The final pillar is respect, both given and received. Respect shows up in small ways: listening without interrupting, holding boundaries without control, disagreeing without contempt. A man who respects himself doesn't chase validation, and a man who respects a woman doesn't try to dominate or manipulate her emotions. Respect creates balance, and balance creates attraction that feels calm, not chaotic. This is what the unavailable man lacks. He substitutes absence for depth, silence for strength, distance for confidence. But real attraction isn't built on withdrawal. It's built on emotional steadiness, clarity, and grounded presence. And once these pillars are in place, something powerful happens. A woman doesn't feel the need to chase, she feels the desire to attach. What women actually desire. but rarely say out loud. If you ask most women what they want in a partner, you'll often hear safe answers: someone kind, someone confident, someone who communicates. But what they mean goes much deeper than the words, because what women truly desire isn't a personality trait or a dating tactic. It's an emotional experience. At a core level, women want a partner, not a puzzle. They don't want to decode mixed signals. They don't want to chase clarity. They don't want to wonder where they stand. Attraction feels strongest when emotional energy flows freely, not when it's blocked. This is why emotional availability matters so much. Not availability in the sense of constant access, but availability in intention. A man who is emotionally available is clear about his interest. He doesn't hide behind ambiguity to feel powerful. He doesn't make someone guess their value to him. That clarity feels stabilizing, and stability allows attraction to grow instead of being constantly tested. Another deep desire women have is consistency. Consistency isn't intensity. Intensity comes and goes. Consistency stays. A man who is consistent in his behavior, tone, and emotional presence creates trust, and trust is what allows a woman to relax. When she can relax, she opens emotionally. When she opens emotionally, attachment forms. This is where many men get confused. They think being consistent will make them predictable, and therefore boring. But inconsistency is what's boring. It forces a woman into survival mode, not attraction mode. Women don't want to feel emotionally alert all the time. They want to feel emotionally safe. Another unspoken desire is emotional maturity. Emotional maturity means a man doesn't punish with silence. He doesn't withdraw to regain control. He doesn't turn conflict into power struggles. He can handle discomfort without running from it. That ability to stay present during emotional tension is incredibly attractive, because it signals strength, not fragility. Women also deeply desire to feel seen and understood, not fixed, not corrected, not analyzed, understood. When a man listens without immediately offering solutions, when he acknowledges feelings without dismissing them, when he remembers emotional details, a woman feels emotionally recognized. That recognition creates bonding. And finally, women desire mutual respect, not dominance, not submission, balance. A man who respects himself sets boundaries. A man who respects a woman honors hers. There's no chasing, no withholding, no emotional leverage, just mutual interest moving at a healthy pace. This is why the unavailable man eventually loses his appeal. He may spark curiosity, but he can't provide emotional grounding. And without grounding, attraction never stabilizes. Women don't stay attached to emotional uncertainty, they attach to emotional presence. Why the unavailable man fails long term. The unavailable man may look powerful at first. He creates intrigue, he controls access, he seems unbothered. But over time, this strategy collapses under its own weight, because emotional distance doesn't build connection, it builds tension. And tension without resolution turns into emotional fatigue. At the beginning, a woman may feel drawn in by the uncertainty. Her mind fills in the gaps. Her emotions stay activated, but slowly something shifts. Instead of curiosity, she starts feeling anxiety. Instead of excitement, she feels confusion. Instead of desire, she feels emotionally drained. This is the first failure of the unavailable man. He triggers stress, not safety, and stress can't sustain attraction. Another reason this strategy fails is because it creates unstable attachment dynamics. Emotional unavailability often attracts anxious attachment. It creates push-pull cycles. It turns relationships into power struggles. One person chases, the other withdraws. This may feel intense, but intensity is not intimacy. Over time, this dynamic becomes exhausting for both people. The woman feels she has to work for emotional access. The man feels pressured to maintain distance to preserve control. Neither feels truly connected, and eventually the emotional bond weakens. The third reason the unavailable man fails is ironic. He becomes replaceable. When someone else enters the picture, someone emotionally present, consistent, and grounded, the contrast is immediate. Suddenly, what once felt mysterious feels empty. What once felt exciting feels unstable. What once felt powerful feels immature. Emotional availability doesn't compete with unavailability, it exposes it. Another critical issue is that emotional distance blocks trust. Trust is built through repetition and reliability. through showing up the same way over time. An unavailable man is inconsistent by design, and inconsistency makes long-term bonding impossible. A woman may tolerate emotional distance for a while, but she will not build her future around it. Lastly, the unavailable man avoids growth, because staying emotionally distant protects him from vulnerability, and without vulnerability, there's no depth, no shared meaning, no emotional expansion, just surface-level connection that never evolves. This is why so many relationships built on emotional games eventually dissolve. They weren't built on connection, they were built on control. The truth is simple. Women don't leave because a man becomes available. They leave because he never truly was. And once emotional presence enters the equation, the myth of the unavailable man falls apart completely. Cultivating authentic desire. The way attraction actually works, once you let go of the unavailable man myth, something important happens. You stop trying to engineer attraction and start becoming someone attraction naturally flows toward. Cultivating authentic desire isn't about doing more, it's about being aligned. Aligned with who you are, aligned with what you value, aligned with how you show up emotionally. The first step is dropping performance. Masculinity isn't emotional coldness. It isn't silence. It isn't pretending not to care. Real masculinity is emotional groundedness. It's knowing who you are, what you want, and what you stand for, without needing to prove it through distance or control. A grounded man doesn't withhold affection to feel powerful. He gives it freely but selectively. That selectiveness comes from standards, not fear. The second step is building a life, not a persona. Attraction deepens when your life has direction. Purpose creates gravity. Stability creates trust. Self-respect creates boundaries. When your identity isn't centered around being desired, desire becomes a byproduct, not a goal. Women are drawn to men who are moving forward in life, not men who are constantly monitoring reactions. The third step is emotional presence. Being emotionally present doesn't mean being available to everyone. It means when you choose to be present, you're fully there. You listen, you engage, you respond with intention. Presence creates intimacy faster than any tactic ever could. Another key element is self-awareness. A man who understands his emotional patterns doesn't sabotage connection. He doesn't pull away when things get close. He doesn't create distance to feel safe. He doesn't confuse detachment with strength. Instead, he stays regulated, and regulation is attractive. Finally, cultivating authentic desire means choosing depth over control. The unavailable man seeks leverage. The grounded man seeks connection, and connection always wins in the long run, because women don't attach to mystery alone, they attach to meaning. They attach to how they feel around you over time. Calm, safe, understood, chosen. This is the kind of attraction that doesn't fade. It doesn't need constant stimulation. It doesn't rely on emotional highs and lows. It grows quietly but powerfully. So if there's one truth to take away from this entire video, it's this. Women don't fall deeply for men who disappear. They fall deeply for men who are emotionally present, secure in themselves, and consistent in character. Not perfect, just real. And once you stop trying to be unavailable and start being grounded, attraction stops feeling forced. It starts feeling natural. Conclusion. The unavailable man myth survives because it promises control. Control over attraction, control over emotions, control over outcomes. But real attraction was never about control, it's about connection. Women don't fall deeply for men who disappear, stay distant, or play emotional games. They fall deeply for men who are emotionally grounded, consistent in character, and secure in who they are. Not men who chase, not men who withdraw, men who show up without performing. The moment you stop trying to manipulate attraction, something powerful happens. You become calmer, more confident, more aligned. And that alignment is what women actually respond to, not scarcity, not mystery created through silence, but emotional presence combined with self-respect. If this video challenged what you've been told about dating, that's a good thing, because clarity is the first step toward better relationships. So here's your takeaway. Stop trying to be unavailable. Start being grounded. That's how attraction stops feeling forced and starts feeling natural. And if you found value in this breakdown, do 3 things. First, like this video, it helps more men escape bad dating advice. Second, subscribe if you want psychology-based insights without manipulation or gimmicks. And third, comment below, what's the biggest dating myth you were told that turned out to be wrong? I read every comment, and if you want to go deeper, check the next video on your screen, because understanding attraction is only the beginning.